Italy is currently facing an economic decline that has been ongoing for more than 20 years. In the past, the country was strong economically, boasting a robust manufacturing sector, a thriving workforce, and a high birth rate. However, presently, businesses are shutting down. Despite a low youth unemployment rate, Italy is witnessing a significant loss of skilled workers, which has cost around €14 billion between 2008 and 2016, with potential further losses ahead. A major concern is depicted in the country's real GDP graph, showing nearly the same output as in 2005, indicating no substantial economic growth in over 2 decades. Italy suffered severely due to the 2008 financial crisis and the COVID-19 pandemic. While other comparable economies recovered and progressed, Italy remained stagnant since 1999. The average income of Italians is now 10% lower than the average in the Eurozone. In contrast, neighbouring Slovenia's citizens have experienced a 15% wage increase over the past 20 years, adjusted for inflation. Italy has witnessed the most significant decline in real wages among large European economies. Despite being the world's 8th largest economy with a GDP of $2.1 trillion, Italy faces a combination of economic factors leading to its decline. Forecasts predict Italy may drop to the 14th position in the global rankings by 2030. The Italian economy had a different trajectory in the past. It was once regarded as one of the most promising and thrilling economies globally, showing significant growth post-Second World War. The period from 1950 to 1980 was hailed as the Italian economic miracle. Similar to other European countries, Italy suffered heavy destruction during World War II, with major cities left in ruins by 1945 due to bombings and occupation. Previously considered an adversary of the United States, Italy's strategic location between Northern Europe and the Mediterranean, as well as its proximity to the Iron Curtain, led it to become an ally of the new free world. Between 1947 and 1951, Italy received over $1.2 billion from the US through the Marshall Plan, significantly boosting its manufacturing sector. The Korean War and the formation of the European Common Market increased demand for Italian products, coupled with fewer trade barriers. This, combined with a sizable labour force, drove robust economic growth for Italy in the 2 decades post-World War II. However, this growth phase concluded in 1970 due to a series of economic and political challenges. Italy's economy continued expanding, but a crucial element for sustainable long-term growth began to decline: productivity. Italy's total factor productivity accounted for more than half of the economic growth during the post-war miracle period. However, after 1970, this changed. The primary catalyst of their economic expansion, total factor productivity, started slowing around 1970 and has since decreased by 13.7% over the 50 years leading up to 2019. Presently, it is actually impeding current growth. Despite growth in the 80s and 90s through measures like deficit spending and currency devaluation, the Italian economy faced short-term stimulants that were unsustainable and failed to enhance its total factor productivity, TFP. Consequently, the economy stagnated and real GDP declined. As a result, the workforce became less productive, with each worker contributing 5% less value per unit of input. Productivity plays a critical role in enabling economic growth without a proportional increase in the labour force or capital stock. Italy's low productivity stems from factors such as burdensome labour regulations and judicial inefficiencies, contributing to an ineffective public sector. This creates an unfavourable environment for new business development, resulting in reduced investment and constrained growth. Inefficiency in the public sector poses a significant obstacle for firms, particularly pronounced in Italy. A 2015 study revealed that Italian firms rely heavily on the public sector. For firms in sectors highly dependent on government support, operating in provinces with efficient public services increased output per worker by 133%. This indicates missed potential gains. The study also suggested that if overall efficiency reached these levels universally, productivity could surge by 22%. Inefficient practices also extend to areas such as the judiciary, where the average time to resolve a legal contract exceeds the OECD average, highlighting the inefficacious environment and explaining the dearth of new businesses in Italy. Productivity imbalances persist nationwide. Italy, akin to other nations, faces a geographical divide between the prosperous north and the less affluent central and southern regions. Productivity tends to peak in northern Italy, known for its industrial prowess, particularly evident in the industrial triangle connecting Milan, Genoa, and Turin. This region hosts a modern cluster of industries specializing in naval production, machinery, and automobiles. In contrast, southern and central Italy exhibit less developed economies, heavily reliant on subsidized agriculture, grappling with historical unemployment and underdevelopment. Northern regions generally display greater levels of efficiency in the public sector compared to the south. A firm in the north generates 99.5% more output per euro spent on employees than the average firm in the south. This disparity primarily arises from factors like reduced infrastructure spending, limited investment in human capital, and notably higher inefficiencies in the public sector. This imbalance poses a significant concern for Italy's stagnant economy, contributing to declining productivity. As previously highlighted, productivity plays a crucial role in enhancing output when other factors, such as the labour force, remain constant. However, Italy's aging demographic forecasts a reduction in both the overall population and the available workforce. A diminishing workforce coupled with stagnant productivity forms a detrimental combination that hampers economic growth. This issue is exacerbated as Italy grapples with its lowest birth rate in 50 years, accompanied by a brain drain where educated professionals are leaving for employment opportunities abroad. Moreover, an aging workforce places greater financial strain on the Italian government, necessitating increased spending on social welfare for the elderly. An older population demands higher expenditures on services like healthcare and state pension payments. Presently, these payments account for 18.8% of Italy's GDP, a figure expected to rise further as more young individuals emigrate from the country. Italy's fiscal expenditure also encompasses substantial interest payments on its debt. While many countries resort to debt to fund expenditures, Italy faces one of the world's highest public debt levels relative to its GDP, standing at 144%. This places a significant burden on the economy, diverting substantial funds away from investments that could boost economic output, such as infrastructure, to service existing debt. The graph illustrates an optimal demographic composition for an economy. In an ideal scenario, a large portion of the population falls within lower and middle-age brackets, indicating a robust working-age populace and potential for future economic growth. However, Italy's demographic landscape contrasts with this ideal. Their population predominantly comprises older generations, with fewer younger individuals available to bridge this gap. As observed, Italy's substantial debt levels have become a growing concern due to its sluggish economic growth over the past 2 decades. Coupled with persistently high levels of youth unemployment, the prospects for generating income to alleviate this debt appear challenging. These debt levels severely cripple the Italian economy, complicating efforts to break free from the cycle of primary deficits without implementing austerity measures. Estimates suggest that if not burdened by high interest payments on debt, Italy could potentially maintain a comfortable primary surplus, collecting more than it spends. However, this remains far from reality, and given the current outlook, Italy's ability to progress without encountering a crisis seems uncertain. On September 25, 2022, Italy elected Georgia Maloney from the right-wing Brothers of Italy party, established in 2012, to government office. Initially met with international criticism, Maloney's first year in office witnessed several significant economic changes, reflecting her vision to restructure Italy's economy. A primary focus has been on narrowing the gap between government spending and revenue, a trend that commenced in 2020 and is anticipated to further align by 2028. Notably, welfare payments posed a considerable drain on the fiscal budget. To address this, one of Maloney's reforms involves downsizing the welfare state. Implemented in June of the current year, this initiative proved unpopular among citizens facing reductions in their welfare entitlements. The government is phasing out a basic income support program for low-income households, aiming to transition assistance into employment opportunities. Efforts are underway to counter Italy's demographic decline. Maloney announced a 50% increase in baby bonus checks for parents during the first year after childbirth, with an additional 50% increment for families with more than 3 children over 3 years. Additionally, women opting to extend maternity leave beyond 5 months will receive 80% of their salary instead of the previous 30%. Measures are being introduced to incentivize workforce participation, including bonuses for continued pension contributions, aiming to reduce this aspect of government spending. Maloney's initiatives indicate an attempt to address Italy's economic challenges. However, given the deeply entrenched nature of these issues, quick resolutions through reforms are unlikely, suggesting Italy may persist as an economic concern for the foreseeable future. That's it for today. And now we invite you to share your thoughts in the comments. Subscribe to the channel if you like our content. We will catch you in the next one.